Welcome, gFREE leaders, to our first installment of our training sessions that we're going to try and do online here. Um, we're doing this so that we can train you in a little bit more of an efficient fashion instead of trying to get everybody all together. Today we're talking about our promotional system. As you know, we're growing as a church, and how we promote things has become way more complicated. We're no longer in the days where we just had one service, most people knew one another, and you could just kind of stand up and say, hey, we're doing this again, and things ran smoothly. Now we have the two services, so you're not always there. We have a lot of new people that don't know what's going on or how things run. They're still trying to figure out our church. We're even still trying to figure ourselves out because we're trying so many different new things. So how we promote our events are going to become pretty important to the success of them. So I wanted to go over today how we're going to do that. So let's begin looking at some principles of promotion. So we're talking about the gFREE Church promotional system. How do we get the word out about your event, your meeting, whatever, any type of activity that we want to be promoting in the church? The main question that we want to answer today is, how do you promote your event to get results, get people's attention, get them interested, and get them to show up? A few principles here that we want to think through. First, you want to identify your target audience. Who am I trying to communicate with? It's no longer good enough to just say, I want to tell the whole church about this. This is for a general announcement. You need to think clearly about who you're trying to reach. Are they men, women, youth, children? Is it another subset? Is it mothers? Is it families? Is it new people? Or is it a certain group of volunteers? You need to understand who you are trying to communicate with, and that's going to guide this process of how you promote. The second principle is to think in terms of layers. Just like Mom taught us in terms of getting ready to go out in the cold, one big coat isn't going to do it. You need to build layers to stay warm. You need to have an undershirt, a long shirt, maybe a sweater, and then a coat on top of that. That's the only way to be effective in staying warm. Promotion works the same way. You have to think in terms of multiple layers rather than one big promotional tool. You can't think, if I just stand up and say this, people are going to get it. They're not. People have to hear it, they have to see it, they have to interact with this information, this promotion, for it to finally kind of sink in and for them to act on it. We're no longer at the point where everybody knows what's going on. We have people that are trying to figure out how our church works, how all these new events work, meetings, so forth. So what you want to do is, no particular layer may be very thick, but when you use all the different promotional tools that we have in our church, you're going to become effective at getting out your message, making it clear to people, and getting their attention, and deciding whether this is an event that they need or want to participate in. Principle 3, we have to realize there are limitations. The bulletin only has so much space. There's only so much time in the service for verbal announcements. And if we, as we multiply our events and our meetings and activities, if we just think we're going to continue to stack things on top of each other, we're going to end up like this bulletin board. Yeah, everything's going to be posted, everything's up there, but nobody really cares. Nobody's getting any type of information. You look at that thing and you go, I don't even want to know that. I can't even sort through it. So we have to realize we need to be strategic about how we promote various things, and that we're only going to be able to put things into a bulletin for so many weeks. We're limiting inserts to only a couple weeks, and limiting how many we have, because we're not going to have a bulletin with 5 or 6 inserts. It just becomes ineffective. People check out. It becomes too thick of a bulletin. Or verbal announcements. I try to limit and streamline how many announcements we have, because after so many, people kind of just start to check out, especially when a number of those weren't even relevant to them. So we have to keep this streamlined. I'm not going to have announcements for a small group of people. Like for 8-10 people, we're never going to announce something like that. It has to be for at least 50% of the congregation for announcement to really have a chance at that. Unless it's something new or something along those lines. There's always going to be some exceptions, but we need to understand there's limitations. So we have to have a good plan. We have to be strategic about how we're going to use these multiple layers. Principle 4. We need to be very, very clear. It's important that we do not dump all the possible information about an event or about a meeting or activity on a person all at the same time. People are going to check out. They need to only know what they need to know. We need to understand and appreciate less is more. If we give them every ounce of information about an event every time we talk with them or communicate with them, it's not going to be effective. It's going to be like this sign. It's just telling you way too many things where we're basically saying, hey, here's everything. Good luck with that. Try to figure it out for yourself. We want to limit it and be strategic about what we're saying. And so here are two good guidelines. First, think, what do they absolutely need to know? You know, what place, what time? Do they need to bring something? Do they need to sign up for something? Those type of things they need to realize. Not every ounce of it. They don't need to know the outline of what's going on. Just the basics. And then what do they need to do? What action step do they need to take? Just putting out information about an event is not promoting it. You need to say, hey, we want you to come. Hey, you're going to have this type of a thing. You need to sign up here. Bring this thing. Tell them what they need to do and be able to follow up with that. So those 4 principles, you need to think about who you're trying to communicate with. You need to think about layers rather than just having one big announcement. Excuse me. Number 3, that there are limitations, so you're going to have a plan. You're going to need to be strategic. And then wherever you communicate, you need to be very clear. Don't overload them with information. Now, that might seem like a lot to remember, but the best way to do all of these is really to use the promotional system worksheet that we're going to be going over today. You already have it emailed to you. It should be on your computer, and you can pull it out anytime that you're about to do something and want to promote it. You can work through this. So let's take a look at that and work down through there. All right, so let's begin looking at our promotional system worksheet. What it is an Excel spreadsheet, and it's a tool for you to create a promotional plan, a strategy of how you're going to get the word out on your event. We've sent this to you. You need to save this on your hard drive on your computer. It's called Promotion System Interactive Master. It has 3 tabs at the bottom. The first is instructions. I'm not going to go through all these because we're going to move through these anyways. But the most important thing for you to recognize is that before you use this file, you need to click on Save As and rename it to your event name. So go up here to File, hit Save As, and we're going to talk about my movie night. I'm going to put a 2 there and save that. Alright, that way I always have my master to work off of. From there, you go to the event info. This is just giving you a baseline of all your information. So you're going to have your area of ministry. You could type something in, or there's a drop-down button with all the different options. This was in adult ministries. You want to put a contact person. That was myself because I hadn't handed it off. That's important. So if there's any questions, we know who to contact, and get clarification. You want to pick a name for your event. Ours was just simply movie night. In the springtime, we had movie date night. But picking a name gives identity to your event. It makes it identifiable by people when we're promoting it. So it gives focus there. Put in your day. We're going to pretend we're going to do this on January 15th, 2011. That's all you have to put in, and it will format that. Put in your time. 6 p.m. is all you need to do, and it will format it. And give your end time, 8:15 p.m. Alright, and then pick your location. It could be at the church, it could be at the center. If it's another location, you want to check that box, and it's going to ask you where. So let's say we're meeting at Dairy Queen. I'm just picking this randomly. Type that in, and then it's going to go, are you gathering first somewhere? Yeah, we're going to gather first at the church parking lot. and we need to meet there at 5:45 p.m. All right, so that we know what's going on. Obviously, you're only picking one of these. For any of these check boxes, you're going to need to put an X. If you put something else like a W, it's going to say no, you need to use an X. So always use an X there. Obviously, you're only picking one of these. The next is you're evaluating conflicts, and they're just kind of check off things for yourself. I verified my location is available for the event. You go, yep, there. There are no other major events in the church or community that I've checked out, so that when you do this, you go, oh, I didn't realize this was going on, or I'd have picked a different day. And then make sure that there's no conflict in the setup schedule. So like if you're having something Saturday and you need to set up Friday night, make sure no one is using your space on Friday night. All right, so those three background things. Then how are people going to register for this? If they're going to register. If they're going to register, you might go, well, I used the connection card. I didn't have a sign-up table. I didn't want to use an insert in the bulletin. I could have used the website like we did for VBS last summer. I didn't. Or by calling a person. That one I wouldn't use very much. That's a pretty complicated way, or you might have another way that they're going to register. Pick your target group. Who are you trying to have come out for this event? Rarely are things the entire church. Usually it's a smaller part, just like we talked about in the principles. Here I was looking for adults and youth for this one. It wasn't a couples night. And then to mark down, just to clarify for yourself, is this pretty much a church only, a church and community, a church outreach, or a community outreach, primarily outreach? I was just doing church only. You know, it was a connecting event for those that are already coming here. A church and community. You know, I'm opening up for everybody, so I might look at some outside promotion. If it's an outreach, then you're going to take a whole different strategy on how you're going to promote this. Is there a cost to participate? Our thing was free, or you might go, you know, it was $5 and at the door, you know, type of a thing, whatever. But you want to put that down there. Are there any other important details? You can list a whole bunch of things. I'm going to put down snacks are served 20 minutes before the movie. Okay. And then is there a specific graphic or logo that can be utilized? This is really important if you're purchasing something and there's a specific thing that you want to have duplicated on PowerPoint, on posters, on invitations, whatever. The more that people see the same graphic or logo, the more they're gonna it's going to make an impression and maybe motivate them. So if you click on yes, again, using that X, it's going to go who has it or where it can be found. So I might put, oh, Matt Manera has it, you know, or I might go go to www.movienight.com, and then I would put a description of what logo that I want. All right, so go up here, save that.